worlds of marketing and digital commerce are converging, and it's imperative to understand how the major digital commerce platforms intersect with creativity and media investment, as well as the impact this has on brand and performance marketing. WARC Digital Commerce, powered by Essential, is for brand marketers and agencies looking not only to understand how to win on retailers like Amazon and Walmart, but also identify brand-level performance benchmarks within your category across the platforms. Our unique offer of frequently published best practice and insights, together with monthly data and competitive benchmarks in one comprehensive solution, is the only one of its kind in the market today. In this video, our very own Amin Mrini assesses the latest data and trends in the digital commerce space and outlines the key considerations for both. I hope you enjoy it.
The collision of marketing and digital commerce, arguably one of the most disruptive forces at play in our industry and certainly a theme that we are deeply passionate about at WARC. So it's great to be here. As an introduction to some of the key questions that our speakers are going to try and answer for you today, I'm going to try and deconstruct this trend by looking at both sides of the equation, starting with why is marketing converging towards digital commerce? Most obvious answer, growth. We estimate that $2.4 trillion will move online between 2021 and 2026 in terms of gross merchandise value. This will take e-commerce share of retail sales to 40% up from 25% in 2021. E-commerce will capture 60% of the total retail sales growth over the period. So we're moving very, very quickly to an environment where the digital shelf is where consumers primarily identify, explore, and purchase. And what is true on the retail side is true for media. Next year, WARC estimates that digital commerce or e-commerce will become the fastest growing channel in terms of advertising spend, overtaking for the first time OTT and social. Right? And the total dollar amount spent on e-commerce will have tripled from pre-pandemic levels in 2019 to reach $140 billion. It is difficult to talk about retail media without mentioning Amazon. For the first time in 21, Amazon broke out advertising revenue, and they reported $31 billion of ad revenue. We estimate that that is about 60 to 70% up year on year. And so we're now in a world where Amazon's ad business is larger than Google Display, it's larger than YouTube, and it's larger than the entire worldwide print revenue. What is unique about this model and what Amazon has created is they're able to be both one of the largest recipients of advertising spend globally and the number one largest buyer. Based on what we know about profit margins on ad revenue, it wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that probably most, if not all, of the $17 billion that Amazon has spent on advertising is self-funded by their $31 billion of ad revenue. So for the first time, we have a self-funding advertising machine worth combined total outflow of $48 billion. Why is this so attractive? Number one, intent. Retail media is the opportunity to reach high-intent shoppers at the point of purchase. So what better context? So that is what makes these channels so efficient in terms of driving sales. Number two, the power of closed-loop ecosystems, right? For the first time in the same environment, you're able to target, segment, link, attribute, measure, and optimize, meaning you're accountable for every dollar that you spend on these platforms. And last but not least, rich first-party data. With the impending crackdown on cookies, it is no surprise that the rich first-party data held by retailers, whether it's loyalty cards, whether it's CRM, whether it's POS data, is obviously incredibly valuable for brands and for advertisers. And the beauty of this is it is only the beginning, right? Just look a few years back, online shopping was super functional, super utilitarian, and now going forward, we're seeing more and more instances of online shopping being almost a form of entertainment, right? Customers are getting used to much more interactive experiences, richer experiences online, and that is working well. We've seen super advanced examples coming from Asia and China in particular of how social commerce and shoppable formats can unlock tremendous growth for the industry. And probably the most significant development on our side is what we call the emergence of full funnel platforms. And what this means is, and we'll come back to this, is for the first time within the same environment, you're able to do arguably the two things that nobody can reconcile, which is long-term and short-term, right? So for the first time, you have options to build awareness, to build your brand, as well as to convert existing demand. So you can create future demand by talking to customers that are not in market for your product at that exact same time, and you can convert existing demands, right? And we'll talk about this a little bit more. And once you start talking about full funnel platforms, you're talking about the implosion of this sometimes quite superficial and certainly very binary debate that we've had between long-term and short-term, right? What if you're able to do both on the same platform? What if you're able to link those two elements? And what if you're able to see patterns emerge that help you truly understand how advertising works over time? That is the promise. And so case in point, Unilever ditching their CMO role in favor of a newly created Chief Digital and Commerce Officer role. Our own data tells us that 25% of marketing departments are considering merging e-commerce and digital branding marketing teams. What we can tell you is those that are still thinking in terms of silos and marketers that are outsourcing the full management of e-commerce platforms to their e-commerce colleagues are missing a trick, all right? They might have started ahead, but they will lose market share and they will lose ultimately. All right, so that's the first movement. Secondly, let's look at the other side of the equation, is why digital commerce is converging towards marketing. Not the most significant answer, but certainly the most obvious, the easy wins are disappearing. We've often talked about digital environment creating an infinite shelf. That is not true. What digital creates is an infinite number of very small shelves. Why are they so small? They're small because they're the size of your screen on your mobile phone. And getting to the top of that screen is increasingly expensive, right? As David was mentioning, this week we're launching the WARC Digital Commerce Index, which is a new, really data-rich, brand-level benchmark that will give brands the ability to figure out how good they are at optimizing for the key success factors on the world's largest platforms. And what our data tells us is very, very clear. When it comes to paid search and advertising, there are very few players on the sidelines. Why? Because these companies are just so good at creating a pay-to-play environment, right? And so if there are few players on the sideline, then it means that it's really hard to establish dominance. And there are even fewer players that are able to be truly dominant on these platforms. And so a perfect illustration of this is to establish our digital commerce index. We're tracking 15,000 keywords, the highest volume keywords on Amazon, which we estimate represent about 10% of the total search volume on the platform. And what you're seeing here on the left-hand side is the number of brands that are competing for sponsored product slots against those keywords. This number in the last 18 months has gone from 45,000 on average to close to 70,000, which is a 50% increase. So the more players you have in the game, the more expensive the game becomes, right? So with the increased auction density, the cost of advertising is going up, right? So the result here on the right-hand side is your sponsored product cost per click, or CPC. And so what this creates for all of us is an urgency to obviously excel at using the tools that these platforms are providing us with, but also innovate, be more creative, and join the dots. What I mean by joining the dots is, in simpler terms, think more omnichannel. Right? WARC did a study last year with analytics partners, and we studied the funnel of one of their largest retail customers. And what we found is that TV is the greatest contributor to website traffic than it is to store traffic, by a factor of 2x. So we talked about the implosion of the distinction between short and long term. There's also an implosion of the completely artificial distinction between digital and physical. The opportunity lies in the connections and in the halo effects that each channel is creating on the other, not the silos. And so this could have been a very, very short presentation. The answer as to why these two worlds are colliding is there's no other choice. There are different ways of doing the same thing, and there is just no reason whatsoever to think in terms of silos. And so the race is on, right? The race for brand dollars is on. Retail media networks are proliferating. Options for advertisers are exploding. And so these guys' ability to develop deep relationship with advertisers and their ability from a technological standpoint to create really effective ways of driving sales with paid search and advertising is becoming the key differentiator, right? So the winners of today are not necessarily the winners of tomorrow, as we're seeing on social today. Now let's get back to this idea earlier of a full funnel model, which really to us is the most significant development in this space. If you look at the spectrum of marketing challenges that one might be going after today, there is an option to take every customer through every stage of the channel, right? That's what we mean. So you're familiar with the content that exists on product detail pages, you're familiar with sponsored product ads, but now at the very top of the funnel, you have your Amazon DSP ads, you have your live streams, right? You have your interactive video ads. And so what this enables you to do is to both create future demand by building awareness around your brand and creating and talking to customers that are not in market at that moment in time for your brand, as well as converting existing demand to drive sales. If we stay on Amazon for this final example, what we're going to see is that across the whole commerce and media ecosystem of properties, much more integration to make that possible, right? So a few examples, you're going to see sponsored display ads from Amazon on Twitch. You're going to see interactive sponsored brand video ads on IMDb TV, and even between the digital and the physical worlds, you're going to see reportedly personalized sponsored display ads on your smart cart at Amazon Fresh and at checkout, right? So on that basis, what are the questions that we need to be asking ourselves now? Up next, a CMO panel on whether marketers are rising to the e-commerce channel, and we'll be studying the impact that this trend is having on e-commerce organizations. We're going to be talking about the profitability challenge of e-commerce. We're going to be talking about the role that brand is playing in this new world. And then Benedict Evans is going to close the day with some considerations on where technology is going to take us next. That is it for me today. Thank you very much. If you want to know more about WARC Digital Commerce or have any questions, you can find me on the app. Thank you.